Well, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I think it honestly is only fitting that the mayor of the city of Springfield would make introductions before we begin. So I'm going to allow her to have the floor first.
Thank you, Chief. Hello, everyone. Thank you for coming, and thank you for those of you tuning in. I know this is being live streamed. Today is September 5th. Overnight on September 4th, we had the unfortunate experience in the city of Springfield to have an officer-involved shooting. That is never anything as mayor I want to see in the community. I don't want to see gun violence of any kind in our community, whether it's from citizens or from the police department. It is a goal of mine to figure out a way to stop all of this gun violence. With that being said, there is an investigation going on with the Illinois State Police right now, so we will be limited in the amount of information we can give you. We are going to give you as much information as we possibly can at this time. The chief and I want to give a thank you to the command staff from the police department as well. Everyone has been here since the middle of the night, and people are working diligently to make sure this is handled in a professional manner, that everything is being addressed, and that there isn't any questions of people hiding behind desks or our ivory tower, or whatever you call it, that we are communicating with everyone in the community as well as the media. So we tried putting out a press release very early this morning to let you all know what was going on, and then we wanted to have this press conference as well so that you could ask your questions. So at this time, I will bring up our chief of police, who I am grateful to have at the helm of the police department, Ken Scarlett, to kind of give you the details of what might have ensued.
Thanks, Mayor. Appreciate that.
Sir.
Well, good afternoon again. I appreciate everyone taking the opportunity to come out this afternoon, and I look forward to a healthy conversation with each one of you. And before I begin with prepared remarks, I think it's important to say that we stand here today for the sake of transparency. Throughout my tenure as chief of police, it's been my goal to be upfront and honest with the 113,000 citizens of the city of Springfield. That's why we stand here today, to the mayor's point. I'm not interested in hiding behind words on a piece of paper. I want you to hear from me directly as to what exactly transpired. And again, keep in mind, the Illinois State Police are conducting an independent and thorough investigation. A lot of the details pertaining to that investigation I cannot release. That will be up to them throughout the course of their investigation. You all have the press release, which does have a handful of information at your fingertips. I would begin by saying no officer, whether with the Springfield Police Department or any law enforcement agency, ever suits up to come to work with the mindset that they may be shot at or that they may have to use deadly force. That's the last thing on our minds as we prepare for work each day. Although we're trained to do that job, that's the last thing that our officers want to be involved in. And yet last night at approximately 11:30 p.m., in a matter of seconds, multiple officers were thrust into a situation where they were fired upon and forced to use deadly force. And so again, the mayor and I come before you this afternoon as a follow-up to the press release that was issued this morning. And the events that unfolded late last night represent a chaotic encounter in a compressed timeline with an armed individual who fired a handgun at officers as they attempted to take him in custody. This investigative stop was only initiated as a result of a previous investigation into a shots fired / shooting incident which occurred earlier in that evening on September 4th. In fact, officers responded to the 1600 block of South 16th at 5:41 p.m. last night in reference to a shots fired / shooting at an occupied residence. And through victim and witness statements, officers were able to positively identify the vehicle that was involved, as well as identify the shooting suspect. Additional research by Springfield police officers revealed a social media account that vividly displayed the suspect brandishing firearms. All of this information that was gathered was aired in an attempt to locate by Sangamon County Dispatch Center at approximately 8:52 last night. Utilizing technology at our fingertips to include the Flock LPR license plate reader system, officers located the vehicle in the area of 16th and Clear Lake at approximately 11:26 p.m. Officers in the area responded and located the vehicle now moving at Martin Luther King north of Kansas, and this investigative stop was conducted on the suspect vehicle as it pulled through the drive-thru of a local business in the 1100 block of South Martin Luther King. Officers approached and confirmed that 2 of the occupants of the vehicle matched the description of the suspect shooter and the potential driver of the suspect vehicle from the previous shots fired. The suspect was asked to exit the vehicle as part of the investigation into the shots fired, and he initially refused, but finally did comply. And as the suspect exited the vehicle, a very brief struggle ensued. The suspect evaded arrest and began to turn and flee. Simultaneously, he fired a gunshot directly in the vicinity of our officers on scene. At least 2 of those officers in close proximity, one of which immediately returned fire towards the suspect. The suspect was struck by gunfire and was bleeding from a leg and a wound to the back area. Officers immediately requested emergency medical service personnel, and within 26 seconds of the initial shots fired, began to provide critical life-saving care to treat the wounds. And while doing so, the officers also located the suspect's firearm, which he had in the waistband of his pants. Again, I think it's important to mention that we're here for the sake of transparency. And part of that is trust building and relationship building with our community. This morning and throughout the day, the Springfield Police Department command staff and members from the PBPA Unit Number 5 Union met with key stakeholders in our community, some of which are present today. These stakeholders included members with the NAACP, the Faith Coalition for the Common Good, Black Lives Matter Springfield, Springfield Coalition for Dismantling Racism, and the Community Health Roundtable. And I'm proud to say that we have those relationships because of ongoing dialogue. There are many videos that have begun to surface throughout the evening, and all will assist in piecing together the entire incident from start to finish. But it is important to know that these trusted members, key stakeholders of the community, have seen the footage and have had the incident explained to them in its entirety. And as soon as practical, more than likely when the state police investigation is completed, it's the mayor's intent and my intent to release the body-worn camera footage, because I believe it paints the entire picture of the incident from start to finish. So I implore our community to allow this independent investigation to go on, which is being conducted again by the Illinois State Police. It is imperative that we continue to keep open lines of communication, and in fact, we remain peaceful until all facts are found. The mayor and myself and every member of my agency are committed to the citizens of the city of Springfield and to their safety. And in the light of this particular incident, we will ensure that that safety goes on throughout our community. So that is my prepared remarks, and I believe we would be taking questions at this time. Yes, ma'am.
I'm going to say a few things. I want to thank the Springfield Fire Department for their prompt response to the call from the Springfield Police Department for help to the individual in our community that's now in the hospital. So thank you, Chief Canny and Chief Taylor. Thank you. I also want to ask if the community wants to know what they can do. The chief and I met with our citizen who was injured. We met with his grandmother and father today. And I would ask that you pray for this individual and pray for their strength and their healing. If you want to know what you can do, you need to pray for the individual who was injured. I also want to thank our community stakeholders for taking their time out of their day as they got an early morning request from us to come see the footage and talk with us, because transparency, as the chief said, is our key component here. That's why we have you all here today. So we will open it up for questions, but if there's anything you want, anyone in the citizens of our community, our 114,000 citizens, want to know what they can do, it's pray. I'm asking for prayer for this person, for this individual. Are you running the questions, Haley, or?
Can you provide any additional details about the robbery that was listed in the press release that happened with the suspect
I don't have those details at my fingertips. I can tell you that the Suspect was also a suspect in an aggravated robbery that occurred on August 14th at a business in the 600 block of West Jefferson.
How many officers are?
Yeah, I apologize. I should have mentioned that. So we have one officer that was involved in the actual shots fired incident. There were 4 officers that were on scene as part of the traffic stop. All 4 officers have been placed on administrative leave, which is per our department practice. Part of that is to give them the opportunity to decompress, give them the opportunity to seek any mental health treatment that they may need to heal throughout this entire process.
Chief, could you talk about what you saw at King and Stewart? There was a line of officers, yours and the state police, and a number of people confronting the police, talking to them. Can you talk about the temperature of that situation?
Absolutely, and several of my command staff were out there as well as, to your point, as well as just about every officer that we had available, as well as state police and even Sangamon County sheriffs. And it was an extremely chaotic situation in which frustration and anger was boiling over, and it was directed towards those officers that were on scene. Those officers were there simply to protect the crime scene so that the state police could conduct their, again, thorough and independent investigation. In fact, there were several vulgar remarks made to numerous officers. There were bottles that were lobbed in the direction of officers. We had a squad car window that was completely destroyed by a brick from a bystander. And yet our officers were able to maintain and protect that vulnerable crime scene to ensure the state police could handle all their work.
You said there was a driver in the car as well as a passenger.
Yes, ma'am. Excuse me. There were 2 occupants in the vehicle besides the individual suspect from the previous incident, so 3 occupants total in the vehicle. The other 2 individuals were detained and brought to the station where they were questioned for the initial shooting situation on 16th, as well as any information they could provide on the officer-involved shooting.
Chief, you're not naming the person.
I'm sorry.
You're not naming the suspect.
Not this time. It's a 19-year-old male.
Has ISP given you any, I know it's early, but any timeline as far as the investigation?
No, to your point, Stephen, it is early in the investigation. I know there's a lot of work yet to do for the state police. I've been assured that they will handle that as efficiently as possible. They need to be thorough in their investigation, and ultimately that investigative file will be turned over to the state's attorney's office. Well, let me end by saying this then. I'm extremely proud of the men and women of the Springfield Police Department. Last night was a very difficult set of circumstances, not only for those that were involved in the shooting, but those that were responsible for the aftermath, which included, several almost violent encounters. So our men and women come to work every day with the mindset to keep our community safe. I'm proud of the work that they do, and that was on showcase last night. I just ask again that the community remain peaceful and that we work together through this tragic situation.
We have one question. And Haley wants us to repeat her question.
Really quickly, if you could give like the information you can kind of describe the interaction you had with suspects.
Yeah, so essentially the mayor and I met with them, and the purpose of that meeting was to give them the dignity and respect that they deserve, to hear from the leader of the police department and the leader of the city as to what transpired with their son and grandson. I mean, that's the gist of the conversation, and I would afford that opportunity to anyone that's in that situation. I think that's only fair to fellow human beings of society, that we give them the opportunity to speak and to ask questions.
Were any of the people involved in the first bottles of bread, were there arrests made in that situation?
No, ma'am, there were no arrests made as a result of any of the chaotic scene.
All for your time.
Don't miss a video. Subscribe to our YouTube channel today for more Central Illinois news.